I will start with a little talk about the INSPIRE project, probably very shortly, because as I heard, you are involved in one of the knowledge and support hub within the INSPIRE project, so it's nothing new for you, but I will concentrate on the results from one of the deliverables. I mean a team of researchers from Jagiellonian University and Serece Zazu, Slovenia. We did a scoping review on publications concerning implementing gender equality measures in widening countries. But today I would like to concentrate on Central and Eastern Europe. I will come back to this concept of the widening countries. So the INSPIRE project is going on, has been going on since October 2022. It's a Horizon Europe project, and it joins researchers and practitioners from 14 research organizations from 11 countries. 10 of these countries are European ones, but we also have a partner from Argentina. It's a Flaxo Research Institute, which also constitutes or facilitates work of one of the communities of practice within our project. We have partners both from Western and Central and Eastern Europe, so I think it's nice to have this balance between different partners. These are both universities, but also research institutes. The main objective of the INSPIRE project is to establish a European Center of Excellence to mainly streamline access to knowledge and expertise across research and innovation throughout the whole European research area, and also to provide leadership and direction in the design, implementation, and also evaluation of inclusive gender equality plans, mainly from an intersectional perspective. So in the project, we combine two aspects or two approaches. We want to build knowledge, mainly the evidence based on how to design and implement inclusive gender equality plans, but we also work to support. We build capacity through practice, and COPs, communities of practice, are the main tool to do this. We work across four.
Sorry for interruption, but we
yes?
cannot see your slides.
You cannot?
Yeah,
I can only see the front slide. Yeah, it's not moving. Maybe if you stop sharing and then reshare, it might.
Okay.
Sometimes, I don't know.
I will stop sharing and
the Zoom freak out.
What can you see now?
I can see the consortium slide now, and it's on full screen mode. So that, yes, that looks great.
Now it's moving. Okay,
yeah, now it's moving.
So some information about this INSPIRE project, our consortium, a nice picture from the first meeting, European institutions and one Argentinian partner. Main objective and these two-side activities on building knowledge and supporting communities of practice to implement, monitor, and evaluate inclusive gender equality plans. And we have 4 thematic areas which correspond with 4 knowledge and support hubs we have created within the INSPIRE project. And one of these thematic areas is ours. I mean ours because we, as Jagiellonian University, Serece Zazu, and Flaxo, coordinate the functioning of this knowledge and support hubs. It is widening participation and the reach of JEPs. So this is the visualization of the structure of the existing knowledge and support hubs. As you can see, each KSH coordinates or facilitates three COPs. and this is the case with our knowledge and support hubs. We have just started cooperation with 3 communities of practice. As far as I know, 2 of them had been already in existence before the joining the Inspire project. This is Unigem COP, which I have to look at my notes to be sure yes, which mainly collects institutions from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Serbia, and Montenegro. We have this already existing COP from Latin America, from different countries of Latin America, and mainly universities, but also research institutes. And we have this completely new community of practice, which is Wajde, Wige. We have different pronunciation depending on who is talking, and it's composed mainly of organizations from Central Europe and Eastern Europe, Poland, Lithuania, Hungary, and so on. Okay. Yes, so the topic of our knowledge and support hub is threefold. Firstly, we work on institutionalization of gender equality policies, and we pay special attention to gender equality plans. We work on facilitating exchange and learning among institutions with different experiences and being in different phases of implementing gender equality plans. We also want to reach so-called newcomers, so the institutions that do not have any measures or do not have JEP yet, but want to engage in this process. The aim of our hub is to stimulate debate on contexts, regional and national context of gender equality policies. We aim at providing support tools for preparation of JEPs, and here the GEAM tool comes, but also institutional analysis of data, some participatory methods to be used throughout the process of JEP design and implementation. We provide also some trainings and consultancy. And overall, our aim is to support COPs to provide a space of debate for institutions which are at different moments of JEP implementation. So networking is a very important part of our activities. So now moving to the deliverable, to the report. These are the authors of this report. We conducted a scoping review analysis on the existing publications on implementing various gender equality measures and policies in the region of widening countries. And before I will talk about the concept of widening countries, I would like to share with you the main research questions we formulated before the analysis. So we wanted to see how the influence of European Union on implementation of JEPs is seen in those publications. What types of gender equality policies are implemented within countries that cover in this analysis. What areas are addressed in those policies and measures? What are the facilitating and hindering factors for implementing, for designing, implementing, and monitoring JEPs? And also, what is the impact of the social, cultural, political, and economic context of the countries and of the regions that are under consideration? I will mainly focus on Central and Eastern European countries, on this region, which less and less often is called post-communist one. So we used 2 methods to this scoping review. we provided a top-down one, so the classic literature search in a few databases. These were Web of Science, Scopus, Google Scholar, EBSCO, and GSTOR. We ran this database search last year in the first half of the 2023. And within our interest, there were all widening countries. The concept of widening countries is introduced by European Union, as you probably know, and it refers to a group of less research and innovation advanced countries. This is the definition provided by the European Commission. Or in other terms, we can say that these are the countries with low participation rates in the previous framework programs. Framework Program 7 and Horizon 2020. This category includes both Central and Eastern European countries, but also such countries as Cyprus, as Malta, as Portugal, as Greece, and also some countries which are outside Europe, but are, let's say, covered with the current Horizon Europe projects. And these include Turkey, Morocco, Tunisia, but also Ukraine. So these are both European and outside Europe countries, both the countries which are part of the European Union and the countries which are associated with European Union. We analyzed publications from 2012 onwards. We took into considerations only English version of publications. And after the whole procedure, we finally included 60 items, 60 publications. These are both journal articles, book chapters, but also project reports and conference proceedings. On the other hand, the colleagues from Slovenian Institute conducted a bottom-up analysis. They used the suggestions given by the gender experts from the widening countries from European Union and analyzed the publications they suggested. So there is a quite considerable difference between these two pools of publications, since while our pool is limited to English language publications, experts sometimes also suggested publications in native languages, and as to some extent, it was possible to analyze also those publications, as within our consortium we have people who speak and read in different languages. So as you see, these are two pools of publications that were analyzed. As I was involved in the first method, I would mostly talk about the results of this top-down analysis we provided with our other colleagues from the Jagiellonian University. So starting with the very general findings from this top-down analysis, we saw that the publications are very recent. Most of them are from 2019 onwards. So it shows that the interest in scientific interest in gender equality in research and innovation is a new phenomenon, and those publications are limited to selected countries. Most of them are from Portugal, but Poland and Bulgaria are also the countries which are well represented within this pool. Most of the publications, both scientific articles and project reports, are based on the results from European projects. and they mostly discuss current developments in the institutions or in the countries that were covered in those publications. We collected 37 multi-case studies, and which involved several countries, and we had 23 single case studies. Even though we had so many multi-case studies, the comparative analysis between countries is lacking in these publications. So the reflection from above, allowing to identify any regional or sectoral patterns, is lacking. So this is the first important conclusion also from this analysis. And also most studies are rather of a descriptive than conceptual or critical character, and they rather focus on practical implications, the processes of implementing gender equality measures, and again are lacking some theoretical or conceptual developments. The publications we analyzed focus mostly on JEBs. So mostly on JEBs, not that much on the alternative to JEBs. I will develop this in a moment, and conditions for their development. And most of the publications or the analysis focus on the very first steps of JEB development. So the design, the analysis of the status quo, and the very first implementation of the JEB, rather than monitoring, evaluating, and reintroducing new JEBs. Within these publications, we found substantial analysis of supporting and hindering factors for implementing gender equality change. We also found thorough analysis of the role of the European Union, its policies, and this eligibility criterion, which was introduced in 2022. And we also found some considerations on the role of national, regional, and organizational contexts in the processes of JEB implementation. As I signaled before, most publications are on the JEBs, not the alternatives. So here you can see the numbers. 40 publications relate to gender equality plans, not to other instruments that can be introduced to provide gender equality change. And what we also found that practically no analysis incorporates intersectional perspective. So this is totally absent from these publications. If we talk about these few publications where alternatives to JEBs are discussed, we talk about discussions on such policies as certifications and awards for organizations. For example, in Polish institutions before 2022, there was, I do believe, one university that had a JEB, but many research institutions had or wanted to have this award, HR in Excellence in Research, which was awarded by the European Commission, and where gender equality is one of the aspects of this excellence, research excellence. We also have some cases, some discussions on equality and diversity policies, equality charters, institutional strategies for science, responsible research and innovation strategies, and also a few publications which discuss communities of practice or living labs as some kind of alternatives to JEBs, alternative mechanism of introducing gender equality. In few publications, implementing individual measures was discussed, and we noticed that that these individual measures were implemented in the countries or in the context where gender equality policies were less developed and where there was a high level of resistance to gender equality. So individual measures were the ones that were the only ones that were possible. And those individual measures were very different. They referred to very different areas of intervention, both gender balance at leadership and decision-making level, balancing career development and mobility, work-life balance, counteracting gender violence, gender budgeting, and gender in research and teaching. Moving to supporting factors for implementing gender equality plans, we know of quite a few analyses which refer to this problem, but so far they were based on the cases from Western Europe and from Western world, let's say, but we missed analysis which were and hypotheses which were tested within other regions, and we wanted to verify whether, in the context of Central and Eastern Europe, or wider within the context of widening countries, whether the same supporting factors have a role. So the main conclusion is yes, we do find very similar argumentations for factors that support implementation of gender equality plans. Firstly, it is the political will and support of decision makers and the leadership of the institution. In universities, it is the rector. In our other institutes, these are the heads of these institutions. And in this context, it is also stressed that the role of women in leadership position is crucial. Secondly, there is a focus on the role of the human resources departments and solutions. They are important in the process of implementing gender equality plans, as they are, at least in universities, they are responsible for ensuring equal rights in the recruitment process. They are responsible for implementing some policies, work-life balance solutions, and also these are bodies that collect sex disaggregated data, which is very crucial both at the beginning of the process, when we want to assess the status quo of the institution, but also are necessary to monitor the process of implementing gender equality plans. Next, much attention is paid to the involvement of the whole community, organizational community, all the stakeholders, and the involvement should be through participatory methods in the co-design of gender equality measures, plans, policies. And in this context, it is also stressed that involvement or the identification and involvement of the gender expertise within the organization is crucial. Next, as we all already know from the previous slides, the role of communities of practice is stressed and underlined. COPs are important because they develop and enhance gender competence. They provide some expertise but also can act as agent of change in the institutions. COPs support the process of knowledge exchange, can also be a community of moral support in case of resistance, organizational resistance. So we have this experience of a community of practice for Central and Eastern Europe within ACT project. We facilitated the functioning of this community of practice, and it was a few years before the European Commission introduced the JEP eligibility criterion, and the COP was a very important platform, not only for the exchange of good practices, but also for providing support, moral support for those of us who were struggling with strong resistance against implementing gender equality measures. And finally, we found in the analysis that strategic framing of gender equality is underlined. Many studies highlighted the critical importance of the way in which gender equality is framed within the organizations, how they are communicated and how they are promoted. Therefore, they underline that the role of strategic framing of JEPs or gender equality. And for example, one of the strategies mentioned in the context of Central and Eastern Europe was the use of the work-life balance framework as a more general framework within which very particular activities on gender equality can be introduced. Yeah, moving to hindering factors. The ones that were identified in the context of implementing gender equality plans in the region, there are firstly low level of institutional strategic commitment. Some of the discussed gender equality initiatives are reported or were reported to be rather ad hoc initiatives, isolated actions, the actions that are not anchored in the structure of these institutions, and which are developed as long as some individuals who introduce them have a motivation to do it. When the motivation is lacking, there is no structural anchorage which would provide for the continuation of the activities of the implementation of JEP. Another hindering very important factor was the missing leadership commitment and engagement. The publications, the authors of these publications reported that there was an artificial support of the leadership from the point of leadership. They talk about token support, which is for the public, but it's not real, or it ends once the cadence of the leadership ends and new leaders come, and their position to gender equality plans is totally different. What was also lacking in the processes of implementing gender equality plans was these were resources, both human, finances, and time. I think it's quite a general problem in our institutions when we struggle with this insufficient resources to conduct the change. we also found reports on lack of access to institutional data on equalities. As I mentioned before, this is, for example, HR departments which collect this data, and in most institutions, the data are there, but there is a problem with having access to this data, the possibility of use them or publish them, on refer to them when developing or designing the measures, and especially the data on gender pay gap or gender-based violence are very well hidden and not easy to reach. So yeah, the fear that this data may damage the image of the institution seem to be the main blockage for sharing this data. The authors also identified difficulties in mobilizing equality or gender experts. It may come both from lack of this within institutions, especially if we talk about technical schools, polytechnics, where there are no social sciences departments and probably no gender experts. But this is also the problem of very hierarchic, very big institutions. It's sometimes hard to identify the expertise within the institution. Again, resistance within institutions become a very big problem with which the practitioners deal with. This resistance has different faces. It is both open but very often hidden. It also takes the shape of inactivity within institution. And what we found is also limited scope of equality policies. Even if the JEP is formally introduced, the areas which are covered within these JEPs are limited. Most activities, most measures go into the problem of numerical equality of women within research careers. But such areas as gender-based violence or gender dimension in science is or were at the time still missing. The impact of the European Union is very highly evaluated. European Union is seen as a leverage for institutional change in those institutions. It has this role because of the efforts it takes with promoting gender equality discourse through legitimizing gender equality activities, through financing projects which support institutions in implementing gender equality plans, and finally through implementing or introducing this JEP eligibility criterion in 2022. The authors agree and stress that this move really speeded up the process of implementing gender equality plans and forced institutions to introduce JEPs. We can see a rapid increase in the number of JEPs, number of institutions that have JEPs. But there is also a bit of criticism referring to the impact of the European Union. It is noticed that not all countries within this region and not all institutions have even access to EU-funded projects. From our analysis, it comes that such countries as Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Albania, Serbia are virtually absent from this research networks and from this EU projects. It was also found that it is difficult to implement sustainable structural changes with the use of the European projects, because project imply temporary nature of change. Yes, it provides some resources, but when the project ends and we are not ready with anchoring the JEP within the institution and supporting some resources for further implementation of the activities, it may end in failure. It was also seen that in some cases we had only formal introduction of JEP. JEP was on paper, but in fact no further activities were done. No one used it as a real tool for sustainable and deep organizational change, the change of organizational culture. So it also is connected with the difficulties to translate the solutions that are promoted by European Union into local contexts, into local regulations. And again, resistance to gender equality and resistance to gender equality measures implemented with the use of European tools is also met with resistance. Talking about the context, we were very interested in this fragment of our analysis because in many publications that analyze the conditions for effective implementation of gender equality plans, it is underlined that all these measures should be tailored to the specific context of country, of region, and of organization. So we were very curious whether this theme is well developed in those publications. And starting with general considerations on this context, almost all publications repeat that contextual factors are significant drivers to stimulate gender equality and to bring about structural change in academia and research institutions. They recognize very well the need to adapt gender equality measures to the local, regional, but also organizational contexts. But at the same time, the analysis on the role of the context, on the real impact the context make on the implementation of gender equality plan is very, very limited. And if we would like to reconstruct what we know on the Central and Eastern European contexts, based on the publications we analyzed, we have this dual picture. On one side, we have Central and Eastern Europe, or more broadly, widening countries, which are backward, which are lagging behind the more developed countries, meaning Western Europe. So this is the dominant picture that comes out from our analysis. So the authors focus on this backwardness of the Central and Eastern European region. They point to different conceptualizations of gender, and they found that it might be a legacy of communism, but they do not unpack the concept of gender. They do not explain what it means. The Central and Eastern European context is seen as one where gender inequality is brought down to only to the imbalance between work and family life. Central and Eastern Europe is seen as lacking the general recognition of gender equality as an important issue. It can be also commented that in many Central and Eastern European countries, the numerical representation of both sexes, men and women, is quite good in comparison to some Western countries. And this is the argument that is used by those who resist changes, that we do not need to do anything because we do not have gender inequality in our scientific and research organizations, because we have, in some countries, for example, Romania or Bulgaria, we have equal numbers of men and women. And this shuts the discussion on this problem. What is also reconstructed from the publication is that if any solutions are included, they focus mainly on further increasing women's participation in science. So this is the main focus, and other aspects are neglected. We know from this analysis also that gender studies are not very well developed within countries of Central and Eastern Europe, because the concept of gender studies is borrowed from Western culture that does not fit the social and political realities of the former communist countries of Eastern Europe. This is the citation from one of the publication, but we find this kind of argumentation in some more publications. Central and Eastern Europe is also seen as suspicious of gender equality, of feminism. We see this region through the prism of traditionalism, traditional gender roles, and democratic backlash, and also gender backlash. What is common for the whole region, and also what is common for Central and Eastern Europe and other countries, also West European, is the impact of the processes of neoliberalization of the academy. So this is the common ground, the only common ground for all countries, for all regions. And finally, we thought of implications coming from these conclusions for further studies and also for some further actions concerning implementation of gender equality plans in this region or in general. So it is important, firstly, to reach countries and institutions which so far did not benefit from European Union projects, which are separated from the main project networks within Europe and outside Europe. It is also very important to effectively mobilize locally situated knowledge, which helps us to better understand the historical perspectives and to understand the context of this region. And we still need to better understand how context, or the contexts, organizational, national, regionals, actually impact the processes of implementation of gender equality plans. We still are ahead of a critical discussion on how European Union funding impacts implementation of gender equality policies in our countries, in our organizations. And from this point of view, we see the necessity of large, this time quantitative study, which would provide information on the scale of JEP implementation after introducing the JEP eligibility criterion, because one of the limitations, big limitation of our study is the fact that it was conducted last year, and probably now we have much more evidence on the impact of the implementation of JEP as eligibility criterion, much more than we had a year ago. And again, we stress within these implications the role of communities of practice for both initiating and implementing change, structural change, especially in the context of the resistance, which is identified in the region, and how the signing the memorandum of understanding within the COPs may strengthen the commitment of the organizations to provide and to implement real structural change. Thank you for your attention. This is the again the report I was talking about today. Thank you.